Good evening, everyone. My name is Moises Esparza. I'm the exhibitions manager for the San Diego Latino Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining me during this 27th edition, brought to you virtually via the Eventive platform. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of our festival. We still have some films playing, but the last day is today. We started September 17th, so that was 11 days ago. We screened over 140 short and feature-length films. This was not the ideal way to bring you these films. Originally, we planned on having our in-person event back in March, but the world's a much different place now, I should say. But we're just happy to be able to bring you this programming virtually to the safety of your homes. And I just want to thank everyone for their ongoing support through this transition period. Huge thank you to all of our sponsors and community partners, and of course to the individuals who supported us from day one. During these post-screening discussions, I encourage you to leave comments via the Eventive platform. Just type them out, and I can copy and paste them onto the screen here, and they'll appear as a lower third. Or if you're tuning into this discussion via Facebook or YouTube, on our festival pages, you can also type out comments and I'll be able to integrate them into the screen as well. Well, let's not waste another minute for today's post-screening discussion of Tu me manques, or Tu me manque. I have to ask the director what's the preferred method of saying that in a minute. We have three guests, and the film just won our Best Narrative Feature Award. We announced it at around 6:30 p.m. A group of three distinguished judges selected it from a very tough and competitive field, and we're just really thrilled that this is the grand winner. So without further ado, let's welcome our guests. I'll introduce them one by one. We have director Rodrigo Bellott. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hello.
Hi, Moises. I'm still thrilled that we won the award, and I'm celebrating now. About to join you guys with two of my amazing Bolivian actors, without whom I would have never been able to do this movie. So very, very grateful.
And you're in Bolivia now?
I'm in Bolivia right now, yes. I was stranded for 7 months in Europe. I was starting my tour, a festival tour in Europe, and unfortunately, as we all know, we got canceled, and haven't been able to come back to Bolivia for 7 months. But I just came back home and saw my family last week, and it's there's light at the end of the tunnel. So this award and the fact that you guys made it possible to share the film with everybody is such a gift and so relieving, and it's really encouraging for everybody.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Let me add our other guests to the stream. We have Kim del Rio. Hello, Kim. How are you?
Hola, hola. ¿Cómo están? Hi,
Bien,
Moises.
¿cómo estás tú?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. Let me introduce our last guest, Jose Duran. Hi, Jose. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Happy to be here.
Good. Where is everyone located beyond Rodrigo? Kim, where are you?
I'm in Bolivia as well.
Oh, you're Bolivia. And Jose, are you in Bolivia too, or are you somewhere
else?
No,
I'm in Miami. Actually, in Marco Island, which is about like an hour and a half from Miami, on a vacation with the family, a little short vacation at the beach.
Well,
nice.
Thank you for not letting the time difference get in the way of this conversation. I appreciate it.
Totally fine.
I appreciate it significantly. Rodrigo, tell us a little bit about the inspiration for the film. Obviously, it originated as a play, but I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, it's such a Cinderella story, because it started with a tragedy. I lost my best friend and my boyfriend in October 2014, and during that tragedy, that just I gave up everything, filmmaking, everything, and just wrote a letter that a friend of mine told me, like, this is a beautiful, powerful letter. You should turn it into something, and I turned it into a play that took us, it was just, you've seen in the film a 10%, whoever saw the film, like a 10% of the pain that took to get 30 actors and get sponsors and get everybody involved. And then the play opened in April 2015. And we were just so surprised with the reception of it and how many people wanted to see it, and how it got the attention of media, and people started coming out of the closet in universities and schools in Bolivia, and people started talking about this. And we just realized for the first time, I've been making movies since I'm 20, and I saw the power of film, of art. It wasn't a film, even a project then, but just how theater transformed the lives of so many people, and people started like reaching us in the streets, calling us, sending messages, posts, sharing their stories of coming out, stories of suicide, and just the dialogue started. And that's when the idea to make it into a movie and make it more universal and reaching and going beyond just Bolivian audiences came about. And that took another 2 years of our lives, and stories that I'm happy to tell later on if anything comes up. And then I discovered these two amazing guys who made it possible. It was really, really wonderful.
Jose and Kim, were you both in the play too, or just the film?
Just Kime. Yeah.
I was in the original play as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I met Rodrigo in New York. They needed I think it was one last role to cast, and I met him actually. One last Gabriel. Yeah, that was the last one they cast, and it was I think 2 months out of acting school, and it's one of the first auditions I went on, and I got to meet Rodrigo, and the rest is history. Yeah,
that's actually a brilliant story to tell in your audience that is Latino audiences. We had this amazing casting director called Sig de Miguel, and we wanted to be really authentic in every role that we had. We had gay characters, and we were really careful to try to pick people who were gay out actors, and trying to be respectful of identities. As you know, Latinos have very different accents, and so I was like, man, I really don't want to have an Argentinian or a Mexican playing a Bolivian, because this is a movie that will be very important for Bolivia, and people will tell the difference. And then he goes, man, you're in New York. It's finding a Bolivian actor that can do anything. But then he goes there's amazing people who can do accents. And actually, we were surprised I had this Brazilian guy and this Spanish guy and this Ecuadorian guy who got the Bolivian, accent right to the point. And then Jose showed up to the audition. I was like, man, you really got the accent real well. And he goes, well, I'm actually from Bolivia. I was like, oh my God. And he got the part right on the audition. It was actually great. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Is the play similar, a narrative structure where you have 3 characters playing? Well, there's a lot of Gabriels in the film, but in the play, is it also centralized around the experience of the 3, or is that just a film adaptation?
No, actually, the film, the theater version didn't have Gabriel as a character. It was a conversation between the father and Sebastian, and then it had this poetic moment where you could see the 30 Gabriels. And it was when I was doing the film, I was working with a mentor called Ira Sachs, a very famous out gay director who is one of my greatest inspirations. And he mentioned, you have great opportunity to actually show the relationship here. It's something that the father talks about and Sebastian talks about this, but we'd never get to see it. And then that opened another can of worms, and was like, well, if I'm going to show this, I don't really want to show it with one actor. And then we repeated that idea of the 3 Gabriels that were 30 in the play. We downsized it to 3, and it became an experiment that I've never seen in film, that we were so scared it wouldn't work until we got to the editing room, and I think it paid off really well.
As a director, what type of feedback did you give the 3 actors in terms of how to differentiate their portrayals of Gabriel?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, and you guys can chime in on that, because the idea was that every actor would play a different Gabriel, and so they never got to see each other, and they never got to rehearse with each other. I used to,
Oh, wow.
compartmentalize the rehearsal time, and then, during the shooting was really strange. And like Gabriel one would come in, do all the scenes entirely, and then he would leave, and then Gabriel two would come in and do the entire set of scenes, differently. And then I work with, I call it verb actions, or action verbs, sorry. And so each of them kind of like chose an action verb that was like the through line of their character, like their need of what they want to achieve from point A to point B in the film. And it was very, very different, and everybody kind of just brought something so different and so delicate and subtle, that actually when people watch the movie, they tell me, it's like, oh, I love the Gabriel. It's like, which one? And I'm like, what do you mean which one? It's like, I love the Gabriel. And what I realized that what people do is that their brains pick one that they relate to, and they forget the other two. And it's always, and I can tell what kind of a person it is based on who they choose to remember. And they remember, oh, I remember the one with the tattoos. I remember the one with the great smile that he's smiling right now. And the tender one that's just suffering so much. And I know that he's talking about Kim, and it's just so amazing as an experiment that people do that, And I don't know what your experience was, guys, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Feel free to share. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jose. Jump in.
Go ahead.
First game.
Go ahead.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the rehearsal process was so much fun for me because I just got out of acting school, and Rodrigo, the way he was rehearsing with us was very similar to the technique that I learned in school. Like these rehearsals were like coming to the door, and you have this relationship, and you just kind of basically just improvise. So Rodrigo would just set up these different scenarios where me and Sebastian would just kind of find these moments, improvise. And then in those moments, we found the dynamic, you know what I mean? I realized that I was more of like the dominant one, the more like I was more in control at times, or like that. That was kind of like my action verb, like control, wanting, okay, I got to be in control of this situation. And it was just, I kept making these discoveries through rehearsals. And then on set, it was just easy because the rehearsals were just so great that Rodrigo would just say a word or just say a word to remind me about the rehearsal or something that would kind of just trigger like, oh, okay, yeah, we worked on that. And then we just, went off. But it was great, yeah.
And also, it was very organic in a way. I don't know if you, Rodrigo, had it, sorted out beforehand of choosing that would choose or bring life to the character in 3 different ways. Because I don't recall we had a moment in which, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're going to do that. It's like one of each one of us brought something to the character without knowing what the other person was bringing. And somehow we also didn't see each other acting most of the time.
I snuck in one time, and I saw.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah. Just wanna, I was curious.
Yeah, we didn't want to involve the other interpretation of the actor into our work, and it turned out to be very specific 3 interpretations of the character.
Yeah.
I spoke with some actors at an earlier Q&A, which I'm drawing, I guess, a parallel to, and I never really thought about their acting this way, but they said that they each were pretending to be an animal. So one of them was a workhorse, the other was a fox, and then the third was
animal work. Yeah.
A boxing kangaroo, which is really specific and really fascinating. But when I put all the pieces together, it totally made sense with the characterizations that they contributed.
Yeah.
This is just an example of what comments look like. If anyone listening wants to write a question or comment, this is from Ethan. Excellent work. Thanks for the chance to show it here in San Diego. So if you're listening via Eventive or StreamYard, drop a question, drop a comment. Our guests are here to engage with you too. So please, if you have anything to contribute, feel free to type out a comment or question. Rodrigo, can you talk a little bit about the film's impact in Bolivia? We see a little bit at the credits how it created this effect. And maybe talk a little bit about how Bolivia deals with homosexuality or like LGBTQ issues, and how maybe you've seen a shift ever since your play debuted a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Well, what we talk about at the end of the movie is the impact of the play, and I always give this kind of like I don't know, like disclaimer that the movie talks about a very specific city in a very specific context. We're a very, very diverse country. We're 60% indigenous. So this speaks about a kind of like middle upper class. That is a very small percentage of society, but it's also the society where I grew up and my boyfriend grew up. So we were kind of trying to deconstruct and critique in the best possible way that specific target, and the experience was that just finding the 30 actors showed me how relatable my story and my boyfriend's story was, and how it was something that everybody was going through in our town in Santa Cruz de la Sierra. And when I was doing that, I had no intentions of being an activist, or I was just trying to tell my story and what happened to me. And it was just more like my desperation of like, I don't want this to happen to anybody else, so it comes from a very different approach. And then obviously when I tried to do the play, I got all the doors shut on my face because of the fear of doing a play about homosexuality, about suicide. Those were taboo subjects to speak on a public level, especially in the cities where we grew up. And so it was interesting to see how the play facilitated. I think that's the big merit, facilitated for people to talk about a play, and then through the play talk about these issues at schools, universities, and radio, television, and press. And so it enabled people to feel comfortable talking about this, because they weren't really talking about homosexuality, they were talking about a play. It's a perfect excuse. And then that enabled a lot of people to come out and to discuss it. When I came back, we premiered the movie last year, 2019, 4 years after the play premiered. And the context was completely different. There was a huge shift that I saw in the 4 years, and up to the point that we were nominated by Bolivia to represent the country at the Academy Awards and the Goyas. It's like, 5 years ago, you were ashamed of me and you shut all your sponsored public companies, did not want to sponsor us. And now you want us to represent Bolivia at the Olympics of filmmaking, so now you're proud of our diversity and your diversity. And I always say that is the merit of thousands of activists who maybe did not have the platform that the play had, or we had when we were doing the play, to express openly, but they continue their fight to create visibility and create change. And then the thousands of parents who did not turn their backs on their kids despite the lack of dialogue and the lack of platforms to talk about this. So I think the merit is theirs, and the play was just an excuse and a facilitator of all this work that was being done behind by other people in a very diverse country like Bolivia.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rodrigo. We have our first question from our Eventive platform. Jake Jensen writes, Rodrigo, how did your family respond to both the play and the film?
I know, Jake. Thank you so much for your question, Jake. My family's been really, really supportive since day one, and I've been in one of those like 1 in a million fortunate I want to say kids, but I'm 42. But like they supported me since they knew back in the day, since I wanted to do theater and I was 12 years old. They're like, oh, maybe this kid wants to, But so it was really really wonderful in that sense. But it wasn't the case of many of the actors involved in the film. And so one of the things that is anecdotal, but it's actually true, is like that part when they say it's like most of our actors are going to come out during the premiere of the play to their parents, and that actually a lot of them did. Not only actors, but people who are working behind the scenes did speak with their parents the day of the premiere of the play. And until this day, I hear that a lot of parents, a lot of gay men and women use the book that is now in the second edition. They give it to their parents as a gift, or I have stories that they've left the book in their dormitory or their bed or the parents' bed, and they're like, "Yeah, this is a point of the departure to talk about you. We need to talk about this," you know. So it's been a tool to discuss with parents, and that was the main objective, to talk about the divide between two generations who were raised in a very macho, you know, way, and in a different generation that is taking ownership of their identity in a way that it's not being discussed openly between two generations, and that gap is not being, you know, met or filled. But in the case of my parents, it's been great. And for me, this is particularly a great opportunity to connect with my father, who I think has been the one that has struggled the most, not to support me, but just understand something that he was not raised to understand and never experienced. And that's why the book, the play, and the movie is dedicated to him. And for me, the father who I never met, the father of my boyfriend, is inspired by actually, you know, that dialogue that I never had when I was 25 years old, that I wish I would have had with my father. And so it's very much an homage to that dialogue that I wish people would allow themselves to have with their parents.
Thank you, Rodrigo. For our guests who are actors, what are some stuff that you learned making this film that you're going to carry forward into your future projects, or that you have carried forward into future projects?
Ooh.
That's a great question.
Well, everything.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess Kime's right. The short answer is everything, you know. But go ahead, Kime. You go first.
Well, in my case, the play was my professional debut as an actor. You know, I've always acting from a hobby standpoint, so I never really had the chance to get in a big stage or actually get some skin in the game. So this was an opportunity for that, and consequently, the movie, the feature afterwards, was also my first feature, and I was, you know, kind of approached the work intuitively, because I haven't had a formal study in acting, you know, from any proper acting studios. So for me, it was the process of learning, of working with people. Rodrigo and everyone in the crew and cast were very supportive of, you know, this new guy who's trying to give it its all for this project. So I really learned in terms of the technique, and also as a person, of course, you know, in my case, I always thought myself, or I saw myself as someone who's open-minded, you know, and non-homophobic, you know, someone who is in the right way of how to behave with other people. But I learned so much in terms of some things that we do, microaggressions, or understanding on a more explicit way what people from the LGBTQ community suffer. Especially, you know, research and being involved with a lot of friends. I have friends that from the play that I told stories about suicide that really touched my soul in a way that I haven't been touched before.
Yeah. Well, I guess from like a technical standpoint, this was such an amazing learning experience because I mean, you go from acting school where, you know, you do a great scene in class and you're killing it and you feel good about yourself, but then translating that on screen, you're on a set, there was so much pressure. I remember the first day there, I messed up my lines like I don't know how many times. I couldn't do it. I froze up, you know, but luckily I was working with Rodrigo, you know, who was just, he's got a big heart, you know, and I think he knew the talent and he was just really patient with me. But throughout the whole process, I mean, I learned so much. I learned just, I think more than anything, just trusting your instrument, you know, knowing that you did the work, knowing that, you know, you did the rehearsals, you know your lines, and just kind of just having that actor's faith, I guess. And then away from just the technical, I mean, being on set, the family that we created on that set, because I mean, I hear this is very rare, and I guess Rodrigo can tell you that too. Usually sets aren't that beautiful, like just the family dynamics. It was like we were all like a family. It was amazing. And we were, I think it was just what brought us together even more was that we were all behind the message of the movie. And it was just so important and so urgent. And it was a life-changing experience. And this is why I got into acting. You know, I want to tell these stories, you know, I want to be an agent of change more than just, you know, doing films for, you know, I don't know, Hollywood, or it's these are the projects that are really just beautiful to me, and it's something I'll carry with me my whole life. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Jake, who we just heard from, has a comment. Thank you so much. Wonderful film. Had me in tears. And thank you for your response.
Such a sweetheart. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
If we could stick a little bit more in the realm of acting, I'm wondering how you approached Oscar Martinez about this role and his involvement. Such a amazing actor to have kind of at the core, you know, of the proceedings of the film.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary story, and it has a great ending because you know, basically, if we didn't have Oscar, the film would have never happened. And it happened in such a weird way because I were throwing ideas, and he was my number one option. And I had just seen the year before, I had seen Wild Tales, the Argentinian film that was nominated for an Oscar, and he was in it. And I was like, oh my God, this man is extraordinary. And so I called my casting director. I was like, what do you think about this guy? And he goes, he just won the Best Actor Award in Venice, which is one of the top awards, acting awards you can get in the world. So he's right now not gonna do a small Bolivian movie for sure. And then I said, well, we have 99% guarantee that he's gonna say no. Can we, you know, just for shits and giggles, send him the script just for that 1% of probability? And he was game in the sense that he sent it to the manager, and 3 days later we got an email saying from Oscar saying, this is one of the most wonderful scripts I've ever read. I want to jump on a Skype call with you. And since we spoke, it was love at first sight. And a month, he only requested, which is so smart, because not even I would have come up with you know, the divide. We're working with first-time actors, people who were really involved with the story, you know, and they couldn't separate. And, you know, there was a risk of not being able to separate the story from the real, you know, the acting from the real story. And a lot of, you know, I was taking a chance on a lot of first-time actors. And then he had just won the award in Venice. So he's like, if I do it, I need a month of rehearsals with the boys. And we gave him that. I mean, like, usually Hollywood does 1 day of rehearsals in a good case, and we rehearsed for a month, and he became a mentor to them, and he's like one of the most generous actors I've ever seen in my life, because he knew, it's like, I need to bring them to my level, otherwise the boat's gonna sink. And he did that. You know, he was just so generous. And we became such good friends, and up until this time, like before I came, I was just in Madrid last week, and I was there for 24 hours, and he was there shooting a film with Antonio Banderas and Penelope Cruz, and I went to see him, and we had lunch, and we're still friends. I mean, during the pandemic, we were, WhatsApping every day, and that's one of the best friendships that I've had out of a movie, movie set. And so the same thing with Rosie. Like Rosie came on board a little later, and then she became kind of like the mother. So it's an almost all male cast. So she was just so nurturing, and the guys were just so intense. Sometimes they couldn't stop crying, and she would just bring the humor to the situation. So it would become, really, really balanced. And so I don't know. It was just a blessing to have those two on our film, on a film like this that really needs that kind of validation.
I'm curious about the editing process for the movie, especially handling the structure, which is flashback, present, multiple, I guess, storylines kind of happening at one and converging. How did you handle the editing for this film so that it would be legible to audiences in a, I guess, understandable way? I should say.
Yeah, no, it's a great question as well. The film was structured like that from the beginning, and I remember, I gave a map, kind of like of how the storylines, because there's 4 storylines that converge in 4 different times. I call them past, present, future, and subjunctive. So I came out with a graphic so everybody would understand we were past, we were present, we were in that subjunctive tense. But we had budgeted for 6 months of editing, and it took us 18 months. And it was around the 10th month where we're like, yeah, this works on paper and this is great. And the producers took a chance on me doing a film with 4 timelines and 3 Gabriels. And then people are not getting it. So that's where people started getting tense, and I started having a really bad time. And I actually took a time off from editing the film and went and directed a new film. Just to completely forget about Tumamonk and just have a clear perspective. And so I locked myself in the Amazonic forest in Bolivia, and I shot a horror film with my team. And when I came back from the shoot, I sat down with the editor. I was like, oh, okay, and then in that process is where this version came out. There was a lot of stuff that got cut out. There was around 7 characters that were completely cut out of the movie. And it's just like, it was just complicated as it is right now. So imagine with 7 storylines, that it was a shame because we had such great actors, and it was the worst emails you can ever write as a director is to an actor you respect and you're grateful to. It's like, you got cut out of the movie, man. Sorry. But they all showed up to the premiere, and everybody's super proud and supportive of the film. And we knew that the main story was about the father, and a father recognizing and accepting his son, even if it's too late. And that's where everything came back. It's like, no gimmicks, no, it's not about the 3 Gabriels, it's not about the timelines, it's about the father. And so when we realized that that was the main goal, a lot of things became easier.
You mentioned the premiere earlier, just a moment ago. For everyone in the conversation, what's it like watching the film with an audience? I think I was looking forward to seeing what the festival reaction would have been like in person during the screenings back in March. That never happened. So I see a lot of films like by myself, obviously. Like,
yeah.
So this is one that I was really curious to see what the audience would react like, because theater itself seems so communal, which you're seeing theater on screen. You see the collaboration, obviously, that's so authentic and artistic among everyone on screen. So I just wondering how that experience transfers to like a packed theater. Maybe the three of you can maybe discuss what the premiere was like. Which was it at Outfest
Yes.
or in New York? Outfest, yeah.
Outfest at the Chinese theater. You
Yeah.
guys,
So what
you
was
guys
that?
talk about your experience there.
Did everyone get to go?
Yeah. They were there.
Of course, not. I miss it.
Right? Except for
Yeah.
Oscar, everybody else was there. I had family there. My girlfriend was there. She brought her friends. I told a friend in LA about it. He brought his friends. It was a packed house, and they all left the theater just bawling. You know, I remember I left, and then my girlfriend just like hugged me really, really hard for like a good minute, and she was just sobbing. And it shows like just the impact of the movie. You know, you don't necessarily have to be gay or to just understand the story and the impact of the message. You know, and it's like across borders. You know, and no matter who you are, you feel for this father. You know, it's such a tragic love story as well. You know, so it's just a lot of elements that just really, really hit you hard. You know, but yeah, everybody's crying at the end of the movie. You just hear people like sobbing, like, and like it's just the reaction. I think we've been to a few of the premieres, and it's always kind of like a similar response. Yeah.
I always tell I remember telling them, because I had the experience from the play where it's like, I was so used to like premieres where people come and congratulate you. And I was like, oh, and everybody's happy and we want to celebrate. But with the play, every time I came out, to greet people outside of the theater, it felt like I was at a funeral. And I told them, like, don't get scared if people don't want to talk to you after the premiere, because it is such a spiritual, emotional experience that, the least, and a lot of people actually leave during the credits because they don't want to be seen crying. And then if they stay there, they're kind of in a moment of just like, oh man, I like you described, Jose. So it's a weird thing. It's not a celebratory, watching this film, it's impossible not to cry, even seeing people crying. I've been crying for 5 years while writing the play, the movie, shooting the movie, editing the movie. And then, when you see the reaction of people and so much love, and then, just people telling you the stories and opening their heart, and just it's impossible not to cry. And especially when you see older men, Latino older men, that were raised, men don't cry, men don't show affection. It's like all these things, all these taboos that we were raised like, and they want to say something, and they're just about to burst into tears, but that heritage and that like upbringing makes it impossible for them, up to the point that they get kind of violent and they don't know what to say. And I used to just say, it's okay, sir, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Thank you so much. And then they just hug you, bear hug you, and that's when they break down. And it's amazing when that happens, because that you cut through their shields and you went straight to the core of their heart, and that's one of the most beautiful things I've experienced in contact with audiences. I don't know if you experienced something like that, Kim.
They don't know how to react. Yeah. I remember my dad, after we saw the movie, he couldn't make it to the premiere, but we went a couple of days afterwards. And and like you said, he didn't know how to process it, because this movie, at least in my opinion, is for them. We are a generation that understands on a deeper level, but it's mostly for people who were brought up in a different context. So I think it spoke directly to him, but he didn't know how to process it. So he was just rigid, and he was like, "Oh, good movie, buena película." Sí. And he's Argentinian, so he was like, "Yeah, and Oscar Martinez is really good." So it was really funny to see those kind of reactions. You can see the stiffness, and they're like, "Yeah." So yeah. one thing that impressed me is that we had a lot of love from the movie, and you know, the whole premise of the film and the play is based on how close-minded and even violent our generation, or at least our region is. In Latin America, there's still a lot of violence and hate towards this community. So to see that, I didn't see anything other than love from people from different backgrounds. On every screening, we not only in theaters, we did in the CBA and in centers, cultural centers. So I was impressed about that, you know, the reception. It was very, very interesting to see that people really liked it, at least to what I got the chance to see.
And then on top of that, if I may add something, I was just showing the film in Bilbao in Spain, and then I showed it to Amsterdam. And then you think, like, these countries in Europe, you know, this is a movie that will not work there because they already resolved the issues of homophobia, and you know, you would think so. And then you see the reactions. People tell us like, "Oh my God, you have no idea how I relate to this," and you're like, "Really, in Amsterdam?" And it's really amazing how the movie crosses borders and languages and cultures, and you know, so-called evolved first world countries. You see the nature, human nature is the same, you know, and whether it's because of homophobia or other issues, there is this gap of, you know, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, and there is a misunderstanding or lack of understanding that the movie kind of just stares in a positive way, I think.
You know, this is an anecdote from our festival. I have some customers who have walked out of movies. They didn't read the description of the section the film was in, but they tell me, like, in passing, no quiero ver películas de gays, or stuff like that every year. And every year I'm just like aghast and shocked and a little disgusted, but I like, okay, well, I was like, take a chance, watch this, you know, expand your horizon. I think that this is that movie, though, that like if people sat down to watch, it would change their mind about how they viewed people within the LGBTQ community, because not to diminish its impact in the story, because it is for the LGBTQ community, but the entry point is this father-son relationship, which I think is understandable and tangible, and you know, who hasn't had an issue with a guardian or a parent. So I guess when I was saying earlier that I really wanted to see it with an audience, is that I wanted to see people stay and watch the movie, obviously, because I do think this movie is very singular in that accessible, in its accessibility. So congratulations on this great film. We're approaching the end of our allotted time. So maybe if each of you could share, I don't know, what you hope viewers take away from watching this film. We can start with whoever wants to go first.
Guys,
Who wants to go first?
Well, I mean, it's just, I guess a deeper understanding of, and patience and understanding towards your kids. I guess, you know, that's something that I think at the core of this story, that's really what it is. Just parents trying to come to terms with who their kids are. You know, it doesn't matter, like, you know, what it is that they're going through. I think that's why everybody can relate to this story. And I think, just, you know, just listen to your kids, be patient, you know, and listen to them and love them no matter what, you know?
Yeah. I would say, to me, it would be true to yourself. And there's a beautiful line in the film that says that integrity is the absence of hidden parts. So I think that's the core message.
It's in the play, but we cut it out of the movie. But it's my favorite line of the play, and I fought for that line, but it was like, no, it's not in the movie.
It's not in the movie. I might mixed it because of the previous versions. But well, yeah, okay, it's not there. But that's the
I
message
agree
for
with you.
me.
It's one
really
of the
important.
yeah,
Yeah, because
integrity,
it's
the
not,
absence of
and like you were saying, Moises, it's not about just the theme of a gay film or anything else. It's just about a relationship between a father, a relationship between two lovers, and this movie, in that sense, I think the core message is that be genuinely true to yourself and to who you love, and that way you will experience free love.
for me. I mean, I never wanted to give a message. This is things that I wished, I said to the, people that I loved that I lost. I lost 7 people to suicide in the time that took me, writing the movie to writing the play to making the movie. 5 years, 7 people. And we actually lost somebody during the premiere of the film. Somebody who auditioned for Tumamak. So it was really, really devastating when you see like, man, I haven't done nothing yet. Like, this is not enough. This is still happening. And then you see the rates. If I give you numbers by, I collaborate with the Trevor Project in the United States. That's why they give their number there, and collaborate with as many organizations that try to save lives, and create awareness to suicide. And yet it's not enough. So, for me, it's I dream of a time where I don't have to make gay movies anymore, because gay characters are as normal as movies with clouds. Where you don't have to make films about issues, but they just, characters that happen to be gay or lesbian or queer or trans or anything, and you don't have to talk about the issues, because we have already evolved as a society and as human beings into, embracing all that. And so I'm making more movies now, and where I vow to always have Latino and gay characters in my films, but not to make films about the Latino issues or the gay issues, so that people don't even become more positive about these characters, and just becoming visible. Visibility is a huge and most important thing, and it's something that I said in the award ceremony. Is we grew up in a country where we never saw gay kids on the big screen, and supposedly film cinema is the mirror of a nation. And if you grow up in a country where you have no reflection in your mirror, you tend to think you don't exist. And what's most dangerous is that you tend to think you don't deserve to exist. So that's why visibility is so important, in front and behind the camera. And I dream of that this movie can allow and inspire people to make their own films, their own plays, write their stories, have a voice. And so their community become proud, the way Bolivia was proud of us in the Oscars, that their communities become proud of them being a part of their community.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time discussing the film with me. Thank you for allowing me to screen it. Best of luck on your future projects, but also in the further distribution of this film. Is it being released in the United States through like a theatrical thing, or is it streaming?
It's getting released theatrically.
Oh, right. I mean, in the future, I guess.
Hope there's a future for because as we spoke, it's a different experience. Watching this movie is like going to church. It's a very personal experience, and it's not the same going to church when you're by yourself, and then when the church it's like meditating in a group meditation versus meditating in your house. It's a different energy, and I think I hope that we have that future. Right now, we're finally getting back to festivals. Some of them are taking initiatives like you to not give up, and allow for this beautiful platform to reach people. and other ones are taking a little, were the lucky ones in places where there are less COVID. And then we are just being announced that we're going back to Guadalajara in November. So and it's going to be a festival with theaters. So it's going to be an interesting comeback to reality, or a new reality that we're going to face with the film. So that's our news for the moment.
Guadalajara is going to be amazing.
I know. Are you going to go?
No, I'm not. But is it part of the Premio Maguey selection?
Yes,
Or?
we are in
That's
competition,
awesome.
and we're also in the Maguey. So,
Whoa.
yeah,
I heard that the party is the best party, but I don't know if they'll have parties. But I heard that is the best party.
I know. Guadalajara is the quintessential gay city of Mexico, so it's a perfect festival for a film like this. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I've been in that festival 4 times. It's one of my favorite festivals as well. And so I hope it's a good thing. It's going to be a good thing.
It will be an amazing thing. Well, best of luck to the 3 of you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with the San Diego Latino Film Festival. Congratulations again on your award. Very much deserved, and hope to be in touch with you soon. Thank you all.
Thank you
for this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Good luck.
Thank you.